Pop right in just when you need him most. And Boo will too, and you can't do without us. That cat and that funky phantom ghost. It's Funky Phantom time!
In the world of Saturday morning cartoons, success always breeds imitation. And back in the late 60s and early 70s, no success was bigger than Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? I mean, that show was a cultural atom bomb. And every animation studio out there, big or small, wanted a piece of that mystery-solving teen pie. The airwaves quickly filled up with gangs of meddling kids and their wacky mascots. But the most fascinating, and maybe the most blatant attempt to recapture that magic, came from the very studio that created it. In 1971, with the original Scooby-Doo run having just wrapped on CBS, Hanna Barbera decided to compete with, well, themselves. They cooked up a show that followed the Scooby formula almost to the letter, but with one huge revolutionary twist. What if the ghosts were real? Now this is the story of how that single daring idea led to one of the most interesting and short-lived cartoons of the era, the rise and fall of the Funky Phantom.
The conveyor belt.
Hey, watch it!
Farewell, my little meddlers.
Well, I wonder where this unguided tour is taking us.
I hate to tell you, but look ahead.
Debuting on ABC on September the 18th, 1971, The Funky Phantom was Hanna Barbera's first real attempt at cloning its own monster hit. The premise was pure, uncut Hanna Barbera. Three teenagers, the brainy Skip, the fashionable April, and the brawny Augie, are driving with their dog Elmo when a storm forces them to hide out in a creepy old mansion. Inside, they find a grandfather clock with the wrong time. When they set the hands to midnight, they don't just fix the clock, they accidentally release two spirits who've been trapped inside since the American Revolutionary War. Out pops Jonathan Wellington Mudsie Muddlemore, a cowardly patriot ghost, and his equally spectral cat, Boo. Now the story goes that Mudsie and Boo were running from redcoats when they hid inside the clock, only to get stuck and, well, die. Now free after almost 200 years, the super grateful ghosts befriend the teens. From then on, this newly formed gang would travel the country in their dune buggy, the Looney Dooney, solving mysteries. The setup was complete. They had the teens, the animal sidekick, the quirky vehicle, and a mission. But it was that ghostly duo that was supposed to make all the difference. Now, on paper, adding real ghosts to the mystery-solving formula sounds like a stroke of genius. It was a direct shot at one-upping Scooby-Doo by making the supernatural element real. Mudsie and Boo weren't just mascots, they were the team's secret weapon. They could turn invisible, phase through walls, and give some ghostly help whenever the kids got into a jam. And this gave the team an inside man on the paranormal beat that Mystery Inc. never had. The creators leaned hard into the funky part of the title. Mudsie, despite being from the 18th century, was written as a jive-talking ghost with a flair for the dramatic. His catchphrase, "Heavens to Muddlemore," was delivered with style by the legendary voice actor Dawes Butler. Butler famously based Mudsie's voice and mannerisms on another one of his famous characters, Snagglepuss. This gave Mudsie a familiar charm.
I told you I saw him out there. That overgrown Brussels sprout. Excuse me, I feel faint.
As if audiences already knew him. The show was also packaged with a groovy, rock-inspired theme song and a vibe that tapped right into the 70s car culture craze.
We were cold and soaking wet and lost out in a storm. We went inside a spooky house just hoping to get warm. The dusty clock said 6:30. We knew that it was wrong.
So, with a proven formula, a cast of veteran voice actors, including Mickey DeLenz of the Monkees playing Skip, and a unique gimmick, the Funky Phantom seemed destined for success. So, what went wrong? Well, the biggest issue holding back the Funky Phantom was that it wasn't just inspired by Scooby-Doo, it was practically a tracing. The similarities were so on the nose they almost felt like a parody. Let's just run down the roster. First, you've got Skip Gilroy, the level-headed, red-headed leader of the group. Sound familiar? He's a clear stand-in for Fred. Then there's April Stewart, the beautiful, fashion-forward blonde who was always getting into trouble, a role that perfectly mirrored Daphne. But the most shameless copy was Augie Anderson. Though he was supposed to be the brawny one, he was really just the group's Shaggy Rogers. The laid-back attitude, the shaggy hair, the resemblance was so undeniable that for years, many fans assumed Hanna Barbera had just hired Shaggy's voice actor, Casey Kasem, for the part. They hadn't. The role was actually played by Jerry Dexter, but the fact that people thought so tells you everything you need to know. Rounding out the group was Elmo the dog, a non-speaking sidekick filling the animal mascot slot that Scooby-Doo himself had perfected. The episode structure was just as much of a rip-off. Each week, the gang would drive the Looney Dooney into a new town, find a mystery involving some costumed villain pretending to be a monster, get chased down a bunch of hallways, and finally unmask the bad guy. These were your classic Scooby-Doo hoaxes. By copying the formula so precisely, Hanna-Barbera made a show that felt less like a fresh take and more like a rerun with different yet confusingly similar faces. It didn't offer audiences anything they couldn't get from the original and far better show. And this is where the real problem started, because the show's one unique element, that revolutionary twist, ended up wrecking the whole premise. The main tension in any good Scooby-Doo mystery is that one big question. Is the monster real this time? The audience and the gang are supposed to feel a little spooked, which makes the final unmasking and the classic line, "I would have gotten away with it too," so satisfying.
And I'd have done it too, if you kids hadn't have come along. And I'd have found it if it wasn't for you snoopers.
You blasted kids! Why didn't you mind your own business? Yes, and I'd have gotten away with it too. If it wasn't for these blasted kids and their dogs.
Blasted meddling kids.
And it would have been mine if it hadn't been for those meddling kids.
And I would have made millions if it hadn't been for you meddling kids.
In The Funky Phantom, well, that tension is dead on arrival. We, the audience, know for a fact that real ghosts exist in this universe. Mudsie and Boo are in almost every scene. So when the gang runs into the Headless Horseman or the ghost of the Red Baron, there's no mystery about whether they're real. The question is no longer if the ghost is a fake, but just who the fake is. The gimmick deflated all the suspense before the story could even build. And on top of that, Mudsie's role as a powerful supernatural sidekick completely lowered the stakes. While Scooby and Shaggy's cowardice created relatable fear and hilarious chase scenes, Mudsie's powers were basically a get-out-of-jail-free card. Whenever the teens were trapped, Mudsie could just phase through a wall or create a diversion to solve the problem. He was both the comic relief and the all-powerful solution, which often made the human characters feel useless. They were mostly just there to get captured and wait for their phantom pal to save the day. The Funky Phantom also had the bad luck of being one of the first drops in what would soon become a flood of Scooby-Doo clones, many from Hanna-Barbera itself. The 1970s Saturday morning lineup became a crowded, repetitive landscape of mystery solvers with weirder and weirder gimmicks. Soon, audiences would meet a talking car in Speed Buggy, a talking shark in Jabberjaw, and another ghost-themed team in Goober and the Ghost Chasers. As the first and most obvious copy, the Funky Phantom had a hard time building its own identity in a market that was quickly getting swamped with its own formula. Viewers could see it for what it was, a placeholder meant to fill the hole left by Scooby-Doo's temporary absence, not a compelling new show in its own right. It was too similar to stand out, and its own unique idea wasn't enough to grab the public's imagination. The show just got lost in the crowd it helped create. After a single season of 17 episodes, ABC cancelled The Funky Phantom in 1972. The show pretty much vanished from the airwaves, with reruns only popping up here and there in the following years. It became a piece of cartoon trivia, a footnote in animation history, often used as the prime example of a studio trying and failing to catch its own lightning in a bottle. For decades, Mudsie, Skip, April, and Augie were mostly forgotten. Their memory kept alive only by die-hard cartoon nerds and anyone who was glued to their TV on Saturday mornings back in 1971. But the Phantom's legacy isn't totally gone. The show has been referenced in modern animation, usually as a knowing wink to its status as the original Scooby-Doo clone. Its most famous modern appearance was in the fantastic 2011 series Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. In the episode Mystery Solvers Club State Finals, the Funky Phantom crew shows up in a dream sequence next to other Hanna-Barbera mystery teams like Speed Buggy and Captain Caveman, making fun of their shared formulaic roots. More recently, the gang got a full crossover in a 2019 episode of Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, titled A Mystery-Solving Gang Divided. These appearances have cemented the show's place in the bigger Hanna-Barbera universe, not as a forgotten failure, but as a self-aware piece of the studio's own history. The Funky Phantom is a great reminder that even the biggest hit-making studios can get it wrong sometimes. Like and subscribe for more deep dives into a nostalgic cartoon history. Thanks for watching.